Welcome to Soul Loom, a space where the threads of lived experience, energy, and insight are gently woven into the path of remembering, reconnection, and becoming. Today, we're exploring the fascinating realm of past life regression and how understanding our soul's history can help us reconnect with who we truly are, especially in midlife when so many of our deeper patterns are starting to rise for review. My guest today is Kylie King. Kylie is a hypnotherapist, author, publisher, and the founder of ALIBI, the Australian Ladies in Business Initiative, as well as the ALIBI Awards, which celebrate women in business, and I was honoured to be a finalist in this year's spiritual business category. Kylie blends hypnotherapy, mindset work, and past life regression to help people release fear, heal trauma, and reconnect with their inner wisdom. She believes the answers we seek are already within us and that transformation begins when we learn to trust and love ourselves. Kylie, welcome to Soul Loom.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I have really been looking forward to this conversation. I love past life stuff, and especially to explore how regression work can help women in midlife, because that tends to be my audience and most of the women I work with, come home to themselves in a deeper way. So before we deep dive into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about what drew you into this work, and then we can unpack what past life regression and the therapy actually does mean.
So for me, it's always been a journey of gentle nudges. Well, I like to call them gentle nudges, but I don't know if you've heard that story where if you're getting a sign, first you get hit with a feather, then if you ignore the feather, you get hit with a brick, and then if that still hasn't got your attention, you get like hit in the face with a truck. So that's
Yes, I talk about that all the time.
yeah, that's good. So that's clearly that was something that I went through. So I worked in corporate for a long time. I have a master's in business and I used to work in a lot of senior management roles. So I would be the helper that would be sent to different stores to turn them from unprofitable to profitable. I was dealing with like up to 150, 200 staff members and, $1 million businesses, $1 million stores that I'd be sent to. And then I was blessed to have my first daughter. And unfortunately, when you're in that type of work sort of doesn't understand that you have this beautiful baby at home that you had that you'd like to spend time with. So I was going to work and she was asleep. I was coming home, she was asleep, and I was just consumed by mum guilt 24/7. And trying then to sort of reestablish my purpose and my identity now that I was a mum, but I was also this career-driven woman that loved what she did on that side. And unfortunately, it came to a break, and I had one of those all-consuming on the floor in the bathroom or kitchen. It's always a tiled floor. You're on there, you're crying, you're like, "What is my life? What's going on?" And at that time, I ended up getting just set this imagery of this phoenix coming out and exploring. And at the time, not knowing much about Phoenix and not really knowing much about the spiritual community because I was always just corporate work, do that. It started me on this pathway of these gentle nudges and really starting to listen to what I was being sent and listening to my intuition. So I ended up leaving that job, which was a big thing. And then I just started listening to the gentle nudges. So I went through different industries, different pathways, trying to sort of see where I fit in, what my next thing was going to be. And I ended up in a networking group and chatting to someone, and they said to me, "Kylie, why don't you go into like a business coach? Like you've got the experience, you've got the qualifications, start sharing that, start helping small businesses do what you did for the large corporations." And I was like, "Oh, all right, well, we'll get started." And I started my own business. But what I noticed was, especially women, unfortunately, is it's all mindset and it's all where they structure themselves, whether it is an identity, a belief, what they've been told, what story they've held on to. It was all mindset. So I was giving people these business tips and you just got to do this and fix your SEO and all of that fun stuff. But it was fundamentally, you can have all the tips in the world, but if your mindset's not there, you're not ready to become more confident, or you don't know what is holding you back, then you're going to just stay stuck. So I then was like, well, I want to offer more. I want to delve into the mindset. And I went off and I studied NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis. And I honestly thought back then hypnosis was I can make people dance like a chicken. They can have lamps on their head. I'm going to be like an amazing stage hypnosis, like Darren Brown. He's amazing. And what I noticed was that it was so much more. We've turned it, and I guess society's turned it into this fad of mind control, and this is what it looks like. But fundamentally, it's really just about reconnecting with yourself and reconnecting with repressed memories that we don't listen to or we don't even realize we have because of all the noise around us. So I started working more into hypnotherapy. And then during one of my hypnotherapy sessions, my client had completely changed. And what I mean by that is I've known this client for ages. We've been friends. I know her demeanor. I know her tone. And all of a sudden we were doing a hypnotherapy session and I asked her a question and I was met by someone else. I was met by a very angry life. Her name was Hazel. So shout out to Hazel. But I met and it turned out, and I was like, you're not Hazel. You're, this beautiful client of mine. And by asking questions, I started to develop and hear about this life of Hazel that was not a very nice life. She was a scullery maid back in the UK at a very, she just had a really hard life. And she was very angry. And she was very angry with God and what she had blamed with that. So, of course, I was like, what is going on? But I'm just going with it because the client's there. Whatever has come, and I need to get to the conclusion. So yeah, met Hazel, had a chat with her, asked her what she would do to make those changes, to make what would happen. And then finished the session, checked on my client, had to check that she wasn't like setting me up. Like, what are you doing? Who is this? She had absolutely no idea. We listened back to the recording to get it. And then, of course, after that, I was like, okay, what's happened? What is this? Who has this come from? How do I delve into that? So then it continued that I went and studied under some different people. So looked into Brian Weiss, looked at Michael Newton stuff, ended up training with Dolores Cannon and with some other past life regression people. And now I have done almost 200 past life regression sessions. And I've really just made it my niche. Really, I guess I come to me for the past life. And to be honest, it's because it's more fun for me. Because hypnotherapy is like quit smoking.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah. And what I love is I love people's stories. So not only to learn the client's story, but then to learn the past life story is so important. I've met so many lives across different galaxies, dimensions, timelines, all of that sort of thing that has been absolutely a blessing. And then, yeah, to see the changes in the client has been incredible. And it's why I continue to do it, because I can tell you now, a lot of people in my corporate life think I have two heads and that I have gone clinically insane.
And that's what fascinates me. I've never actually been regressed, but I've had past life readings, and it's a similar thing for me, but I pick it up when I'm doing natal chart analysis because it's what we see coming in our South Node. And unfortunately, every life that we have had where we've been a woman, 9 times out of 10, it's going to have been a scullery maid or a wench it's going to be in that format in some way, because that's what women have had to live through. Well, I'd like to say until recently, but it still doesn't really, it's still
a lot of witches are coming through at the moment. A lot of witches and a lot of military lives are coming through at the moment. So as I mentioned before we jumped on the podcast, I get a lot of waves. And at the moment I'm getting a lot of witches and I'm getting a lot of military men, because we're going through a very similar part in our timeline right now. So they're coming through to send messages to people and how to best learn from their lessons so that they don't have to repeat.
And that's what it's about. It's about learning what those shadowy things are and where they've come from. And often they've come from previous human experiences and then it's amazing, because once you actually make that connection, you're like, oh, that's why that happens to me, because I've got this trigger that I never realized from X amount of hundreds of eons ago. So someone like me, I've been doing this a long time. Some of my past lives go back forever. It's just crazy. So it's so fascinating. So How can understanding our past lives help us make sense of the patterns and emotions that we start to see surfacing um, throughout our whole life? But I also think, and I'm sure it is the same for men because they still go through this, but I think as we approach those midlife years, so 40 to sort of 60, where we've got a lot of that hormonal change and we've got those astrological transits happening to us as well. How can understanding those past life experiences help us there?
I think anything type of healing or any journey we're on, it's all about bringing stuff into your awareness. You don't realize where something's come through from unless it's come into your awareness. So
Mm,
I've had a lot of women or men coming through at the moment that are just trying to find, like, I've had this message, or why am I not losing weight, or why do I feel this epic, like, you know,
mm,
visceral effect when I think of something. And they're trying to just pinpoint where something's happened or why something's happening.
mm,
And with past life, and with a regression, we can say, look, let's go to that past life or bring that past life forward because it's clearly sending you messages. And it's once we find out what that is, it's then bringing it into your awareness so then you can work on it. Some people don't even know. They're just like, I'm interested, I'm intrigued, I want to explore, let's have a conversation and see what comes forward. And then whatever that session brings forward, the person can go, oh, I didn't realize that I was doing that, or I didn't realize that was something happening. So for example, just a recent one that I had, this lady, she was like, no matter what I've tried for the last 30 years, I can't lose weight. I can't figure it out. I don't know what it is.
oh,
And
I
I
feel her pain.
and I binge eat sweet treats. She's like, and I'm not saying like I open up a packet and I have a biscuit. Like if I open up a packet of Tim Tams, I'm eating the whole thing. And I
Mm,
don't understand what she's like. I've done other hypno before. I've done the weight loss hypno. I've done all of this. I've tried everything. What is it? And I said, let's just look back and see. Let's just do a session. And what I love about past life regression sessions is there's no filter. So it's not
mm,
coming through someone else's filter. It's coming directly from you, your subconscious mind. This is what's happening and this is how you can change it. And through her session, what we found out is in her past life, she had a very hard relationship with a parental figure of hers. And she was always in trouble. Just no matter what she could do, she was the not favorite child and she was always in trouble. But when she behaved good, her dad would give her custard. And when she behaved really good, he'd give her more custard. So when we spoke to that past life and we explored it and then asked it, I just asked it directly. I said, well, what would you do if you had a new life? What would you do if something happened, in a future life? And it said, I would eat as much custard as I want. I love sugary treats because no one will ever tell me that I have misbehaved or that I'm bad.
mm,
So now that we knew where that had happened and where that had come from, she was able to then continue to adapt and evolve and go, okay, I know I love sugary treats from this. This is where it's come from. What can I do to, deal with that? Now that it was brought into her awareness, she was able to figure out, okay, next time I want to open a packet of Tim Tams, am I eating the whole thing? Or do I feel comfortable that I am a good person and that
mm,
it's not, I'm feeling bad about myself and someone else is restricting that sugar. It was what she felt like she was good in herself.
mm.
I saw her a couple of months later and she's like, I don't need a whole packet of Tim Tams now because I know for myself that I'm a good person and I don't need to reward myself with all that sugary food.
Mm. And it allows you to identify the trigger in that moment that made you go for the Tim Tams and stop and go, okay, what do I need to think about? And why did it trigger me? And that's where you heal. And then, not to say you still would need a packet of Tim Tams because I can understand that craving, but it allows you to have that reflective ability to go, okay, what just triggered me? And that's how we heal.
And I think that's so important too. It's all about bringing things into your awareness. And I remember working with this beautiful person called Tanya. She's in our community. She's beautiful. But she said, awareness is 70% of the job. Once you
Mm,
know where it comes from, you can then work on how to work through that, heal that, move on from that. So for that, as soon as she said that, I have noticed with these gentle nudges that, yeah, once you have awareness on something, you know what to do. So it's having these sessions or figuring out your charts, or just if you feel a nudge, where is that coming from? because you've already done, once you find out where it's from, 70% of the work's done.
Oh, definitely. That's the hardest part. And then it always makes so much sense when you go, okay, now I get it. And I think it makes you stop thinking that there's a little part of you that's a bit crazy, because you then understand why the crazy is happening.
Mm.
So what have you noticed shifts most profoundly? And again, I'm talking about women, but if you've got great examples of men, that's fantastic too, who undertake past life regressions emotionally, energetically, and spiritually.
That's such a big question, because I have noticed so much. And every shift is different and individual. And I think it's not really the big shifts that are massive, it's the little shifts and these tiny shifts in just the way they see the world, the way they see themselves, the way they see what's happening around them. At the moment, a lot of the clients I'm getting through the doors, they're going through an awakening. So they're starting to realize this isn't normal. Why are we here to do the work, eat, sleep, repeat? Like there has to be something more to us. So it's even just having them come in and sort of realize that they do have this power within them and that everything they need is inside them. They are accessing things directly from themselves. They have the answers that they seek. It's just really building that relationship and getting them to get to know each other more. So even just having a session with clients, whether it's a past life or a quantum healing, just seeing them later on and hearing back from them and just seeing, they've changed jobs or they've changed where they're living, or they're now embracing that they have this beautiful, this psychic power or this love of instruments that they're going out and doing. Every session, I would have to say, you just feel it in the room. Like once something's being cleared, whether it's stagnant energy from the past life regression that's still in the body, or whether it's an emotion, you feel the energy in the room shift and then you see it on the person at the end of it. So I think what's important is that it's not always the giant shifts that happen, and that we always want everything to be a giant shift. It has to be big. It has to be earth shattering. We're all here to cure cancer and stop all the amazing things. But most of the sessions and the results we're having is they just need to make a small shift or shine their light brighter or fix their vibration a little bit more. And in doing that, that impact is actually just generating and moving around the world so much more, and people can feel it.
Yeah, and I think just for people listening to this, if it's starting to resonate, I think a lot of this awakening that, that's the term we all choose to use collectively. When you're experiencing anything that is making you feel like it doesn't work anymore, I don't feel like it's fitting with me anymore, whether it's your relationship, your workplace, a community, a friend, it doesn't matter what the context is. And, we have now moved into the true age of Aquarius, and that is the age of enlightenment. So it's because the energy that we're living with is pushing us to find these things out about ourselves and to pivot and to move so that our human experience is what we came here for it to be. It's not meant to be hard and traumatic and horrible. And even though you may have had experiences such as people that are return service people, you may have had an experience that's now put you into a place which is hard and traumatic, but it's not meant to be. So, energetically, you're being pushed to find people like you and me or whoever else you may suddenly find falls in your peripheral for a reason. And past life regression is just another tool that a specialist uses for you to move forward out of those spaces and heal. So I think it's really important that people understand that it's not crazy and it's not voices in your head. It's your intuition and your higher self going. As you said when we opened, that's the knock on the door. It's time to go and heal that aspect of you.
Exactly. No one wants a truck to the face because that just causes its own issues. So no one wants it, but it's also, and it doesn't matter what the modality is, it's the modality that fits you. So if past life regression is something you're like, I want to go and explore that, or I want to go and look at my chart, or human design, or all these other beautiful modalities that are now out there and available, go with what fits in your gut and what feels good, and then go from there.
That's right. And you'll find that you'll be seeing the signs happening just as Kylie talked about how the signs happen, somebody suddenly wafted into her peripheral that went, oh, why don't you try this? When you begin to let yourself notice, you'll see the things coming across your social media or the books you look at in the bookshop, or the conversations you start hearing will have a similar tone. And that is your sign to go, oh, that's the way I need to go. And then you start to explore from there. So don't discount anything that is happening for you, because it's all messages. So how can we integrate what we uncover in regression work into our everyday lives? So you've had a session and you've come away with this amazing experience, and you may then choose to go back and have numerous sessions, and you'll discover other lives. How do we then take all of that information away from the session and work with it to heal and to understand what's going on?
The best way I recommend is always listening back to the recording. So when we do a session, it pretty much follows, we have a chat at the beginning, we'll do the session, we'll explore a past life, or it may be several. So you're going through maybe 4 or 5 different scenes to see the past life. Then there's questions that I'll ask at the end. So there'll be questions I'll ask in regards to gifts, residual energy, contracts that are holding us back. And then at the end of the session, of course, I'll ask if there's any advice from that past life, and then we'll do a bit of a debrief. I record the whole session, and that's so you can listen back, because my interpretation of what may come through could be completely different to what you would interpret it to. And sometimes the most profound healing is coming exactly from the horse's mouth, so from yourself. So you might pick up different symbols or messages or moments. So I feel like when I do a lot of these recordings, I can tell you a lot of people do not listen back to them. Whereas if they did, that's where the profound healing is. And you can really see the difference of the people that want to do the work. I have a few clients, they'll listen to them once a month because everything is in there that they needed to keep integrating and doing the work. So I would say listening back to that recording and going, okay, what is happening? How am I picking up on this? Have I, I've asked this question, but am I going to just take action on that? Or am I going to just sit back and go, oh no, I did the session, everything should just change? Like, it's all good to bring things into our awareness, but without action, things do not happen.
And I find that myself, and I don't know if anyone listening, if you've ever gone and had a reading, whatever that might look like, whether it's a tarot or a psychic reading or whatever happens, or something like what you do, I find that even when I listen to those recordings a year later, I will hear something that I didn't hear before. So I think you hear what you need to hear at the moment, you hear it. But yes, definitely I would, listening back, allowing that intuitive message to come through time and time again is important. And then trust what your inner self is telling you when you hear it, and action it, because that is the truest, most authentic message that you're receiving.
Exactly. And every time, and things change in the moment, things, as you mentioned, down the path. So just doing what feels right for you in that moment and listening back is perfect ways to integrate. It doesn't have to be hard. I think everyone thinks with healing, it's got to be like burst into the flames, start from scratch. It's got to be super duper hard. It's just every day doing something a little bit different, or slowly working towards something.
Yes, I think we're so used to hearing all those stories around what Eckhart Tolle calls the dark night of the soul. And you think that it's going to be this crash and burn, which, yes, it could end up being the crash and burn if you don't start listening to the little prods and that you're getting. But more often than not, it is a very slow process, and it does take time, and it can take years. And you mustn't judge yourself for that. You must just allow it to evolve and allow it to come together in its own time. It's just such a fascinating topic, and we could go on forever, but we're running out of time, and your little ones probably want their lunch. So it's coming to the end of the year, but for anybody listening to this who's like, I really want to experience this, are your books still open?
I have a couple of sessions, but I have to say there's been a big awakening at the moment. Like, I don't know if you're feeling it, but everyone is trying to make sense of everything. And my books are open, but I do have quite a bit of a waiting list at the moment. You can book online, of course, via my website, kylieking.com.au. I do offer normal past life sessions, which are online and face to face. And I also offer, as I said, I've trained with Dolores Cannon. So she does quantum healing hypnosis. So I do offer that as well. But yeah, I have to say there's a big thing happening at the moment with everything. Everyone's looking to start making sense of things. And with that, I've seen a real uptick in what's happening, which is incredible. I think everyone needs to become aware of what's happening. Everyone needs to really start that work. So yeah, I am still available, but yeah, and I juggle with the monkeys. So in the best possible way.
As we all do. My monkeys are far older than that now, but I can appreciate what's happening. So yeah, it's fantastic. So anyone that sort of is thinking, well, this might be something that I can look at, I'll put all of the information in the show notes of how you can contact Kylie. Definitely hop on and have a look at her website. If you're curious about what the process looks like, Dolores Cannon is probably an amazing person. You can see her stuff on YouTube. Just Google it if you want to actually kind of get a bit of a feel for what past life regression therapy is and what it does. And that might give you a little bit of a prelude if you're thinking about seeing someone like Kylie. And
I do have blogs on my website as well. And I do have a little bit of a mini podcast on my YouTube channel that you speak to clients and they'll tell you their side of the story as well. So you can see all of that online.
Oh, fantastic. So I'll put all the links in the show notes for that for anybody that's interested. And thank you so much for joining me. I was really looking forward to today's discussion, and I've actually booked a past life regression with you for next week. So I will actually be able to experience it and share what that's like firsthand with everybody. If this is resonating with anybody, reach out to Kylie, reach out to me, leave comments. If there's anything that you want more information on, we can get that to you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Soul Loom. If you have, please follow me, share it with anybody else who might be interested, wherever you're listening. Your support helps conversations like these reach other women who are ready to connect with themselves. And until next time, take gentle care and keep weaving your own path of sacred remembrance. Thanks, Kylie.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.